Concept of leverage is commonly applied to money management, and we're not going to be talking a whole lot about that. Leveraging money is the concept that a little does a lot when properly positioned. It may even relate to other people's money, using other people's money. And when one says too leveraged, we might be referring to the idea that one is way out over their skis financially. They have too much invested with little room for error. But again, today, the leverage that I'm talking about is a little bit different. The discussion is not so much about money, although I will bring that back into focus at the very end. But in the same way that money management is important for a small business, his money being properly positioned to get the most out of it, one must also learn how to leverage your primary resource, your very most important resource. And that would be you, if you're thinking about doing a business, if you're already in a business, if you're an owner of a small business. The owner of the small business is the most important asset to leverage. And so that's kind of the perspective that we're looking today. Often we have a topic that is business and life. Today's is mostly business, but if you think about it, you always want to be doing the most with the resources that you have. So you can also apply it just about anywhere. So a few other people here, one from Kentucky. Wonderful. Great to have you. Oh, well, that's Cash Turdy. Let's just let us know. Very good. So business owners use the power of hiring the right people to do the things that need to be done. By so doing, they have conceptually extended their own reach. That's the idea. This is how a small business owner begins to duplicate him or herself through employees or contractors. Now, instead of one person producing at a high level, there are 2, 3, and 4, etc., as time goes on, each doing at a high level one element of what the owner is initially doing in the beginning. Now, I'm talking about owners that are just starting out that don't have a whole lot of cash to hire a lot of people in the beginning. That was kind of the way I started out way back when. And so, yeah, you bring employees on and you bring contractors on to be an extension of yourself. So that's kind of what we want to think about today, how important that is. You, the owner, become the leveraged asset. You're the most valuable resource that your company has. So the proper use of your time is really critical to the success of the business. And while it's easy to think about leveraging something as tangible as money, it's a little less clear to consider the leveraging of yourself. So that's why we want to talk about it today. One needs to learn how to leverage their own talents and abilities, which is yourself. What this means is you'll want to take what knowledge, what talents that you personally possess, and multiply these through other people. That's the whole idea, getting the most out of it. You'll multiply your impact by teaching, training, and exemplifying the business building concepts you have adopted, those things that you are committed to. And to do this effectively, you'll need to conduct an honest evaluation of your talents, abilities, and resources. That's kind of the main thing you got to do in order to make this happen. Your tendency when you're just starting out is to do everything yourself. In the very early stages, this is not only acceptable, it may be necessary if you don't have the funds to bring anyone else in. You will, however, learn very, very quickly that you'll come to a point where you'll need to involve other people in the business in some way if you're going to grow it successfully. This is not essential, of course, if you intend to keep everything within the confines of what you yourself can do. Today, that's not unusual. For instance, if you're doing an online business today where you can handle all the technical aspects, the marketing, the logistics of producing the product or the service, and that works fine. But if you plan to grow and to increase your footprint in the marketplace, you eventually need to bring in others into your business world. And this can certainly be as individual contracts as well as employees, not necessarily just as employees. And this is especially, again, true in today's business environment. It's much easier today to do today. I had a meeting with a young woman this very week who is doing this exceptionally well. That is contracting out. All of her staff are outside of her company and are non-employees, yet committed to her and to her business. But it's still incumbent upon you to assess your own talents and abilities and resources in such a way as to be sure you're having others do the work that is cumbersome to you or that you don't do well or that you're inefficient at handling. Now, again, even this is after generating the initial income to be able to hire or contract these other persons. Now, years ago, I was speaking with a very successful business owner who was at the time still working his butt off, doing all the important tasks. In the course of the conversation, he mentioned he had just paid $250,000 in federal business income taxes the previous year. I asked, well, why are you still working like a dog? Take that money that you kind of had to give away to the government and pay it to some focused, high-level employees that can take some of the tasks that you feel like only you can do. And so again, early in the business, it's kind of tempting to hold on to everything because you think you're the only one that can do it. And you're not really looking for those outside resources because you're doing it well and you get to the point where you're generating a good income. But there comes a point where you really want to kind of look at that a little bit differently. The decision you make when you look at your business this way is you're not levering that which is you're levering that which is most important, so that you can grow and that you don't want to just work for yourself. Again, that example, the fellow was just kind of working for himself. So this is, of course, again, it's acceptable. It may align with your personal objectives, thereby helping you achieve the goals you've set out for yourself. So it's not essential. You can keep doing everything yourself and kind of working for yourself, so to speak. It may be, for instance, that you are an independent consultant, or maybe a home inspector, or some other highly trained person. Well, don't dismiss this concept as unimportant. Rather, realize you're making a business decision to generate linear income. That's it. Income you generate by your direct efforts. And this is as far as you'll go with your business if you don't leverage yourself. Once something happens to you, you're done. Game's over. It dies when you die. It suffers the moment you suffer. Or go on vacation, or whatever it is that keeps you from working. Again, this is fine. I'm simply challenging those of you who probably have a nice gig like that to confront the limitations you've placed on yourself in that type of business. You may say, Ted, this gig I do gives me $200K per year before taxes. Come on, what more do I need? And some would say, I need something to outlive me. I want something that works when I don't. I want freedom, not a job, even if it is a job working for myself at a good wage. And that's what that conversation is like. Somebody that has a really good consulting gig and uses that to its greatest extent in terms of earning a good income, but basically is working for himself. So he really hasn't expanded it to become a business yet. It's really just earning income for himself. Linear income, only what he can earn while he's working. My half-brother had this sort of an income generating machine after selling a sprinkler business. He'd been in that for 20 years. And so he then just chose to be a consultant to that industry. And as he became older, he desperately wanted to pass it on to another in his family. But he suddenly died of a heart attack at like 65 years old, maybe even less. It was too late. He had made the conscious decision when he was younger that he was the only one who could do this. I'm very comfortable. I'm done with business as I've known it in the past, hiring people, buying trucks, and all that kind of stuff, where I had been leveraging people previously. I'm done with all of that. So he made the conscious decision that this was easy for him to do, and he didn't want to train or be involved as he previously had been. Again, until later in life, when he did want to. So it became too late. So, should we desire to grow a business, we need to listen to Archimedes, who stated it this way: give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I shall move the world. And if you want to move your world, utilize the principle of leverage, getting that lever that's long enough and finding that place to stand in your world that you can do your thing. Many franchises are modeled on a plan where profitability is based on the work the owner does. Again, kind of working for yourself. 20 years ago in my first business, I purchased a franchise that targeted the residential window covering market. I did that because I was already familiar with the commercial window covering market. So this was a business I was familiar with, having serviced, again, the commercial market for years, not only for cleaning, but also for new replacement products. But since residential is marketed differently and it's a much larger line of products, I decided to buy the franchise to learn that part of the business that I didn't really know, with the intent of building up the market share, and then selling it within a few years. That was my goal. That was why I did it. And it's also true that using a franchise name is more valuable than just using an individual name. So attempting to sell to the consumer market, it's good to have that bigger name, especially in marketing and advertising. So my goal from the outset was to manage this business from a distance and sell it for a profit, all while still doing my commercial business. The one thing I didn't understand about the business was that the significant monthly advertising investment, because I had never had to spend any money on advertising in the commercial business. We just walked into buildings and found business. And so the advertising budget that was required and the customer service that was required. Oh yeah, we had customer service on the commercial business too, but on the residential business, it was much more pronounced. To keeping customers happy in a very, very competitive market. So what this meant was there's no room to leverage yourself because you had to be doing the work yourself, unless the dollar volume of business was nearly $1 million, which would require more than a couple of years to achieve, unless I had made the commitment to that huge advertising budget. As it was, I had to spend, I don't know, I think it was like $10,000 a month on advertising. I didn't want to do any more than that. So to state this another way, unless the owner is making a large percentage of the actual sales, then no profit is left for management or ownership. I actually once asked one of the larger franchises in the area of the same franchise, if he wasn't doing personal sales, would he be making the six-figure income he was making? It was hard for him to admit that he was really working for his own company for a 20% commission of, at that time, $500,000 of sales. So that was the way he was earning his income. So you see, it wasn't really a business at that point, even though he did have other people working, he had installers and he had trucks and he had people in the office and all of that. But if you're earning all of the income because that's what you do well, and you haven't multiplied yourself in that place, then you're really just working for yourself for an income. So he changed all that. And yes, in my case, and in this gentleman who locally owned that same franchise, we had been leveraged by the franchisor, right? I bought the privilege of working for myself and paying a portion to the franchisor who had cleverly created a business model based on leverage. So in my case, with the franchise, when I understood I would not be able to earn a reasonable return on my investment, I sold the franchise at a little less than what it had cost me to get into it. Yeah, it didn't make sense for me to continue to pay the franchisor for the privilege of working for myself. Now, again, this works fine if it's the long-term strategy. You see, the financial investment by itself in most franchises does not really return anything until 2 or 3 or 4 or more franchises are purchased. You'll notice that when you look at food service, for instance. You'll recognize that they're owned by a corporation that owns several franchises. And it's for that reason. Now you can hire a manager to run each one and make a little bit off of each one. But if you just have the one, you've got to be the manager doing all of the work. So, yeah, the franchisor had done to us what he extended himself, he multiplied himself. So the only way most business people make a franchise investment work is by owning several of them and managing the entire chain. So now consider, what do you do well as the business owner? What is it that you are seeking to multiply? When evaluating yourself in terms of your strengths and weaknesses, it's quickest to determine what you do not do well or do not want to do or not good at doing, so that you are not focusing on the wrong thing, You want to contract out the areas of your weaknesses to those you hire on the payroll or to an outside contractor, rather than continuing to do those things yourself. If, for instance, you do not appreciate the need to give attention to the details of accounting, then you'll likely be better off hiring someone to handle this. Or you may not even want to do the entries. Fine, contract that out as well. Of course, today, software packages does all of this quite well, right on your phone. So again, a little bit different than in times gone by. Perhaps personal selling isn't your strength. And you've got to have sales. Nothing happens until a sale is made. That's another chapter. I don't think we've covered it yet. I've only got a few chapters left to do this with you each week. But if that's the case, and selling is not your thing, consider hiring a telephone marketer to schedule appointments on your behalf. And maybe you give him a small amount of pay, but then you give him a larger amount for every appointment that he gets for you. See, in today's world, you can hire whatever help you need if you understand the concept of leverage. Today, this is exemplified by sources such as Upwork, for instance, which provides worldwide access to tasks that businesses may require, whatever they may be. Some of you may operate within that realm of Upwork. Maybe you're a resource for people. Just this week, I connected with a team from Upwork that has proven itself to handle all mechanics of producing, marketing, and growing a YouTube channel. So I struggle with the technical aspect of producing videos, and it takes me hours to do what a young person or an experienced person might do in 15 minutes. So now I'm at the place where I've contracted this out. Again, not before proving a model like this works. If you find you cannot afford to hire the help you need to do the task you're not as good at doing, it's only for one of two reasons. First is the business will not sustain a reasonable profit without you doing everything yourself, kind of like an individual franchise. You may want to consider looking for an alternative business if that's the case. The second reason the business may struggle to sustain its ability to allow you to pay others is that you may not excel. in any area. Uh, You must, but you must be proficient enough in the areas of the business that you've determined to be your strength, so that you can pay for the help that you need in the areas of the business where you are weak. If you cannot do this, then the verdict is the same. You may want to find another business. But generally, that's not the case. You've usually chosen a business based on something that you do well, something that you enjoy, something that you like, something that you've done before, something that you've experienced or have experience in. And so typically, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be that you just have not purposed to do it. That is to multiply yourself, to extend yourself. It's, uh, it's more likely the fear of leveraging, the fear of leveraging. A common failure with the small business person is a lack of confidence to take that next step, wondering if his efforts are going to be profitable, knowing that he does it the best, knowing that what he does, he's got full control over. No mistakes here. When I'm doing it, I'll get the job done right. I'll do it the best possible for the end user, and I'll know that I'm doing what needs to be done. But now, thinking about hiring somebody else to do that, whether a contractor or an employee, it's a little bit fearful. So I'm not quite sure I want to do that. This is the risk of being your own boss. This is where you really don't know what your efforts will be profitable. But you must be willing to take that leap of faith to find out. That's really what business is all about, is the risk reward that you're going to receive as a result of doing the things that you need to do in order to make the business what you want it to become. Like my friend, he was able to move to sunny Florida after dropping some of his responsibilities, directing those funds that were kind of being wasted to the government, and then employing someone to take on some of his responsibilities. Every business and every person will find this to be a very personal match, best achieved through an honest self evaluation of your own abilities, personality, and temperament. If you want to grow your business seriously, then find others who will work well at completing the tasks that must be done to meet your goals for the business. Your growth will be limited if you do all of the most important things yourself and not pass anything on to anyone else. If you think of this in terms of money, that could be likened to compounding your money rather than simply taking the simple interest. Are you following me? Taking that amount that it earns each year and taking that out of the bank account is simple interest. So you've earned that interest, but now you go out and spend it. But when you compound it, you leave it in there, then it's growing. And that's what you want to do with yourself. You want to invest yourself in others so that they are becoming an extension of you. You can only spend so much of yourself before you're depleted, at best, back to where you started each month or year at worst. So consider the resource that you are as the business owner, the motivator, the driver of everything, the one that makes things happen, the one that gets the job done, the one that does it well, and just think about how you can leverage yourself, how you become more of an extension of yourself through other people. Now, there will always be the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs stories where a particular product hits the market at just the right time and it's destined to mega success. And these past 20 to 30 years, we've seen and heard and read a lot about those kind of things, mostly online ideas. And if that is an idea such as you have, then find financiers who will leverage the idea and go for it. But it's not where most of us live. Most of us live in just looking to do a small business that we can do, that we can enjoy, that we can build, that we can grow, that will suffice to do what we want it to do for our families, that will put us in a place where we have a little bit more freedom and that we can enjoy what we're doing, and that we can be taking pleasure in meeting the needs of other people. That's usually what we go into business for. So stay grounded and start with what you have and gradually build upon it. This means if you pursue a system of a franchise, a network marketing company, a sales agency, or an internet marketing idea, combine your own resources and abilities with a product or service you believe in and work it hard to promote it. In each of these business models, a company first develops a sales plan and then individual marketers follow suit to roll it out. That's where leverage is happening. The original plan is leveraged by teaching everyone the system that has worked for a few and then promoting it. Anyone who works hard and follows the system will have a good chance of success, much like the originating marketers of that plan did, whether, again, it's franchising or whether it's network marketing or internet marketing or affiliate marketing. It's a powerful example of leverage, whether in any of these industries, network marketing or internet marketing, it doesn't matter. 15 years ago, nearly 40% of all consumer products in this country actually used network marketing and variations of it for their marketing model. And I know that surprises people because you just have one picture of what network marketing is, but there are lots of variations of it. But today it's much less, of course, because of the power of the internet, how it's created its own marketing model with many independent marketers through affiliate marketing or selling directly, reaching millions instead of one or two at a time. But what you will notice, whether it's network marketing, internet marketing, is that leverage is often used. Those who market well teach others to teach others also. Now, if that expression sounds familiar to some of you, teaching others to teach others also, it's because it is a familiar expression. The Apostle Paul in the first century said that in a letter that he wrote to Timothy. And he said, Timothy, I want you to teach others to teach others also. And so he was teaching Timothy, and Timothy went out and did it as well, as did the other apostles. And look at what happened. Everybody knows at least about the gospel today. They don't necessarily know the gospel, but look at how it spread by just taking that simple principle of teaching others to teach others also. Now, let's apply the concept of multiplying oneself to your current business situation. You've determined the product or a service you want to commit to, and you've evaluated the areas in which you personally excel in producing and or promoting it. The key now is that you have to develop a method of duplicating yourself in another person so that the efforts of each of you can earn an income. Consider this in its simplest form. You might imagine a cottage industry type of business where high quality specialty items are handmade by many individuals throughout the United States. And the person who wants to expand this imaginary company is going to be either a promoter type person who has discovered this product, like a Steve Jobs. I mean, that's what he was. He was a genius at promotion. Or it may be the person who actually hand makes the item and would like to see one of these in the hands of every American. Now, typically, the same person does not excel well in both, the promoting and the producing. It's just typically not the way it happens. It does sometimes, but typically you need to collaborate. So finally, one would need a vision for how these might be produced on a large enough scale to meet the demand that hopefully exists. And then the person would do this by using his or her personal investment of human effort and money, but always with someone alongside who wants to earn an income from doing the same thing, then replicating this time and time again. They would just kind of watch and be a part of it. You would be growing them alongside of you as you go. If you can conceptualize this for the area of expertise or the product or service in which you are investing or considering, then you may have a plan that you can build upon. This principle of leverage is universal in business. You'll not get very far without it. You need to apply it as early as possible in your enterprise. You will, of course, not want to duplicate too soon. That is, you may not yet have proven the value of what it is you do. So the duplication of yourself in this respect would be duplicating a possible failure. So it's got to be a proven method. Once it's a proven method, then you can go about rolling it out. This lady that I spoke to this week about this had just brought in a salesperson who had done what she really needs to do in her business that he had learned and had been doing in another similar business, but just had not rolled that out. And so now she's at that point where she's taking that idea, that concept that we know works from the other company, and applying it to her own. So usually a small business owner waits far too long to implement a means of replicating himself. Again, often just because of the fear of the unknown, just not knowing what will work and what won't. And so I'm assuming in our discussion that you've moved beyond this, either by way of your own personal experience or by virtue of participating in an already proven system, such as internet marketing, affiliate marketing, network marketing, a sales agency, franchising, or a combination of the two models, two or three of the models. That's one of the things we do today is we combine the efforts of three different types of sales models. Once you're engaged in a successful endeavor, however small, you'll want to begin the multiplication process if your intent is to grow the business beyond what you can personally manage. Leverage of your own personal resources of talents, abilities, finances, knowledge will allow you to build the business effectively. Again, going back to this young lady I mentioned earlier that I had met with this week, she had a great vision of how to build a business without that large payroll. I had told you that all of her contacts were contractors, not on the payroll. So that was, as I stated, very powerful. But she was not able to pull the trigger on the multiplication process by leverage until she realized after an illness took her out for a large part of the year. Then it was like her eyes were open. I got to do this. Because again, the linear income comes as a result of your own efforts doing what you need to do. And in her case, it was doing the sales for the most part. And so now she's working through this other young man to get that done. You'll grow quicker and encourage the lives of more people in the process. You'll then have established a means by which you can move to the next phase of your own career as a small business person by charting and achieving the next goal to which you are committed. One of the greatest benefits of leverage is the ability to generate not just linear income, that which you earn from your own efforts, but also override income. And in some cases, bonuses and even residual income in some cases, the best of the best. So really, that's the goal. Income can be earned without you. You don't have to be there all the time. That's where you want the business to go if you're trying to grow an actual business. Now, as we move towards our close today, I do want to go back to a word about leveraging money, because I do have a story to tell you there. You know, my whole channel here is telling you what this old guy did wrong, so what not to do in order that you don't do it. And so I want to share that with you. Now, I'm not going to suggest a plan by which you can take a little bit of money and position it properly. I'm not talking about that. However, my years and experience in business do demand that I issue a fair warning regarding money management in the small business enterprise. If there was one death blow to hit more small businesses than any other, it would be the subject of poor cash flow. You must act, you must exercise diligence in managing cash flow. This is essential and must be properly and consistently managed to allow for prompt payment of your own payables. So we're not the US government. You can't just print money. And so you've got to have that cash flowing properly. Today's marketplace affords software systems to help with this, which of course was not the case in my day, in the last century. The business you're in will obviously make a huge difference in how critical this is. But regardless of your service or product, cash flow management is still a most crucial financial issue that you'll face. If you're part of a systemized model, this will be built into it, such as being a part of a franchise. They build that into it so that you have control of it. So, time for another of the old guys' stories about what not to do. In my first service business, cash flow had become so severely out of control because my accounts receivables had blown up to $100,000. Now, again, today, I know $100,000 is not much in a small business in today's world, but back then it was. And so you got businesses, in my case, I had businesses owing me that money. And so here's what I did that I don't want you to do. And that was to cash out the cash receivables. There are cash receivables loaning companies, and you pay a high rate for that. And so I did that for a couple of years, and it allowed me to cover the ongoing expenses that I needed. But this all happened just before the bankruptcy that I've shared in other stories, where the business was doing a lot of business, but because of things like this, cash flow, ultimately had to file a bankruptcy. And so never let your cash get that far out of control that you don't have access to it, and certainly that you pay someone else to give you the money and pay them an interest. Hello, I'm sorry. Sorry I lost you there. My phone isn't supposed. Okay, let's get started again. I don't know how that happened. It's not supposed to happen. The phone's not supposed to ring while we're on here. So anyway, you don't want something like that to catch you off guard. Conceptually, building up your own line of credit with suppliers is the first and simplest means of leveraging money. So I won't say that you shouldn't use that as a resource, but again, I'm just warning you very cautiously. You do that only when it's connected to an excellent means of collecting your own money. Again, so much today is done on credit card and paid right away. And again, you don't necessarily get involved in too much of that, depending on your business. But if you do, watch out. One of the best ways for someone starting out today should they not have a large cash reserve to support their living and business and financial needs is to begin part-time. So again, many of the businesses today, you can start that way. It's much easier to do than decades ago. With online marketing methods or affiliate marketing, online digital products, such as I started just a few months ago, are many ways that pay off investing time rather than a lot of money. So you're investing your time, you're investing your abilities and resources as opposed to a lot of money. Now, so for those of you who are going into a marketing business, such as internet marketing or network marketing or affiliate marketing, or sales agency may consider the present discussion of cash flow to be irrelevant. And to some degree it is, because again, you don't have any inventory, you don't have any product to be bought or sold. It's a pure marketing business. However, it's important in this arena as well to realize this, and it's a mistake that many make. And those who get excited about the potential of such a business is to think of the big dollars that can be made in those kinds of opportunities. And in their new business, and they begin to spend as though they've already got the income coming in. It'll probably take months or a year before that income starts to flow if you're doing affiliate marketing or if you're doing internet marketing. And again, I can tell you that from experience. So you don't want to spend as though it's already happening. You want to wait for it to actually be happening. Yeah, the optimism is, oh, it's just around the corner. And so they start spending as though they have it. So just a small word of warning there. So in years past, there was one business that used the term, fake it till you make it. Many young people leased or purchased vehicles, clothing, to act out a part that had not, and for many, never did, achieve. The phrasing was flawed from the outset as it lacked authenticity, fake it till you make it. The final step for many was going back to traditional business to generate immediate income and no longer working that side business. The end of the story was another disillusioned person. Every successful business requires hard work, sometimes a significant investment of time and or money, but always a well thought out cash management plan to navigate the early stages and the upcoming needs. The concept of leveraging money should be avoided unless you have a solid system in place. Many in these recent years learned to purchase, flip, and rent real estate, and this has worked well for many. Others, again, are finding that things like affiliate marketing are working, or internet marketing. But whatever you choose to pursue, work hard to execute the plan and maintain the discipline necessary to implement and to follow through on every part of the plan. The wise small business person just starting out will focus on his own abilities, talents, his resources, what he's good at, what he's not good at, and then allow other people to be a part of the plan. It is said if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, take people with you. So understand and utilize leverage. Powerful business concept. Okay, I'm going to wind it down, and I'm looking forward to some comments here. I'm going to kind of look back up through and see who has come and who hasn't. Please, any questions, any thoughts, any comments, any experiences that you've had that align with any of these? I'd love to see what you say here. Ronaldo, you've had your shout out, and let's see. Ronaldo's been talking back and forth here a good bit. You can have another shout out for that. And Cash Turdy is in Kentucky. Someone asked what part. Ronaldo, thank you for that comment. And Liquid Skittle, I haven't seen you. Why not you chat? Why not you? I think you're asking me. And again, I can't do it while I'm kind of going through the book process. But is life harder now or today's generation soft? So Dr. Not So Happy 6649 asks, is life harder now or today's generation soft? Well, I definitely think that today's generation is soft. And I know there's probably a number of you on here that would disagree with me. But I think compared to what some of us old guys have gone through, we kind of see it that way. May or may not be true. But life being hard today, I think it again, it really depends on your perception more than the reality. It is as you see it, I think, that if we see our ability to move through things and get the job done and rise above the circumstances, we will. If we see it as something too hard for us to do, then we probably won't. So that's just my little take on it. I'm not too sure that anything has changed in that respect. Oh, yeah, a lot of things have changed in the way things are happening and the way, I wouldn't say things, I was going to say in the way governments and things are run. It's all been going on. We're just now seeing it. So again, all of that's been happening. So, so we'll see. And then Cash Charity asks, what happened to other people? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Cash Charity. If you want to ask it one more time, it takes a few seconds for it to come through. So I'll give it a few seconds here before we wind up. But I've loved having you. I sure hope you will subscribe, that you will like, that you'll share this with others. And don't forget, God's Word is too. At God's Word is also. Go subscribe there. I'll be doing just one short video a week there. But please do subscribe and like us here. I really appreciate it. You know it's helpful. And really look forward to seeing you in the future. I've only got a few more chapters of my book to go through. So after that, I'm thinking about bringing guests in to interview them, other business people, other life experience people. And so that's what I think I'll be doing. But I look forward to your comments about that. If that sounds like a good idea to you, let me know. I don't see any other chats coming in. And Tony, if you're out there, I never did see yours. So you'll have to let me know if you're here and you didn't check in on the chat. Well, everyone, see you again next week. So great to have you, and really loved having you. Appreciate you being here. Talk to you soon.